Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a Thursday. I am recording. I am playing music. I am ready to go. I think I have the stage set with a brand new random object. It is this time a Triceratops fossilized skull. And the other day, I did a mammal skull, and I thought when I saw it that it was a Triceratops skull, but I didn't open it all the way to see to make sure what it was. I just looked through the plastic and saw what it was and thought that it was a Triceratops skull, and so I read up on a whole bunch of Triceratops facts, and it turns out that it was not a Triceratops skull. And then, like a day later, I got that little toy Triceratops, the little tiny one, and told all of the Triceratops facts that I had at the time for that tiny toy. Now I have another Triceratops. And do I tell the same facts, or do I try to come up with something else to talk about? Dinosaurs in general, fossils in general. Because even yesterday, we did Pteranodon yesterday. We told a lot of dinosaur facts yesterday. This one appears to be an adult. The horns are faced forward, and I'll bet this is a safari, so it wouldn't surprise me to discover that safari actually knew that. That the horns face forward on the adults and face more upward on the younger ones. Would not surprise me at all to find out that safari knew that. Safari has been chatting with me on Instagram. I doubt that really means anything. I think they're just bored. But wouldn't it be cool if they called me and said, "Hey, cease and desist"? I doubt that they'd say that. But I hope everybody is having a great Thursday morning. I can get right into the I can just almost get right into the details on this, because this is really a fairly basic shape. Especially with it facing at me like it is. Mom says her day's so far so good. That's a good thing. It is my beautiful young bride's birthday today. She's going to be 29 again. I think it is it's the 21st anniversary of her 29th birthday. I'm not real sure about that. my kids stayed up and baked her a cake. Kids, I think it was girl too, primarily. Who is willing to share the kudos with her brother. Why is the screen rotating back to yesterday? What do you mean rotating back to yesterday? That doesn't... I'm not sure I understand what you mean by rotating back to yesterday. I'm not sure I understand. I know that I don't understand why it would be doing that, but I'm not sure I understand what you mean. We see you drawing yesterday's toy, then we see you drawing today's toy. I have no idea how that's happening, because my overhead shows, everything I have shows me drawing today's toy. Oh, my over-the-shoulder camera is trapped. Yeah, that camera is stuck. There we go. That one scene was stuck. Now I understand. Thank you. I would never have seen that. Do. It is very easy to get lost in all of the little details. There are tons of little details in these toys, like the frills. It would be very easy for me to just get lost in the number of frills that this thing has. But the frills are so distinct that it's not impossible to actually capture them as they are. I have some stray lines here I need to clean up because I'm trying to shade lines that don't exist. That shouldn't be there. I'm trying to connect and judge off of lines that shouldn't be there. So let's clean some of that up. Now this is a step we won't be able to do. If we're doing fountain pen, if we're doing ink and wash next starting Saturday, we won't be able to do this step. Because once you put the mark down with pen, the mark is there. Can't talk, Harding. I am kind of looking forward to changing mediums next week, though. I bought some watercolor sketchbooks specifically for this sketching, these morning sketches, and they were supposed to have 48 pages apiece, but they only have 24 pages. It's only 48 pages if you sketch, if you can watercolor on both sides of them. And so I was a little frustrated about that, because that means that one book won't last a whole month. But I bought 2 books. So I may keep those for another purpose and go buy a multimedia book, mixed media book. Just so that I can make sure and get a whole month's worth of drawing on that one book. I haven't decided yet. It's a little quiet this morning. I can hear the dogs moving around upstairs. Which I'm sure makes my birthday girl really happy. I'm sure she was looking forward to sleeping in just a little bit. Some of these things you can't see. If it weren't for the shadows around them, you couldn't see it at all. Some of these structures on here. Tell you what, though, let's start adding some of that drop shadow in so that I can make sure I'm not shading something that shouldn't be shaded. I think I talked a little bit about the bone wars the last time, how they would find fossils and they were all racing to get published, and how they would pay people to bring them fossils, but the way they paid them to bring them fossils caused the people to destroy the fossils. So they could get more money. And so it took us a long time to get whole skeletons, but we keep finding more and more Triceratops, and we keep learning more and more about them. We never found any together for a long time, so we assumed that these guys were not hurting individuals. But recently, when I say recently, I mean like 2017, they discovered beds of juveniles together to suggest that they at least stayed together as a family unit when younger. Or they were like dinosaurs, or they were like elephants and had a graveyard where they all went to die. And we just don't know which is more accurate. But I do not like when they present it as fact and say, this is what this did. I like it better when they do like what Great Courses does when they say in living animals, when we see this, it's because they do this. So we're making the comparison to the living animals. Because when they just come right out and say this horn was used for mating purposes and its only function was to attract a mate, then that doesn't explain the scarring on Tyrannosaurus skulls that appears to have come from fights with Triceratops. I'm doing a little bit of scumbling here. Normally I try to keep the pencil going all in the same direction. It's easier to blend that way. But I'm trying to use this shadow to define that form. And here, the shadow is darker than the skull, but from here down, the skull is darker than the shadow. But I don't think the shadow changes. I think it's the light on the skull that changes. So the intensity of the shadow should be the same. All the way down through here. Alright, and then we have a little bit of core shadow right through here. But then the skull takes on its own darkness. Through here. Yeah, there we go. Got to make sure and preserve that reflected light on the side of that ridge. And the other thing is this thing is covered in ridges. And every one of the ridges has a shadow. Ridges appear to have had blood vessels in them, which makes them think that the frills were used like elephants to cool down. But how are we doing on time? Oh my goodness, it's already 5:54. We're coming along nicely. I could probably spend another hour doing this one because this is the kind of stuff I love. But we have to start wrapping it up because I do have to go to work. And again, this is one of those things where we have to remember this is a morning sketch. The purpose here is to get our little creative juices going. It's not to capture a finished piece. And I have to remember to stop. Right? So let's go around and clean up those stray lines. Bring back some of the lightness around that. Got a little carried away with the shading there. Just a little carried away. This whole thing should be darker. To separate it from that frill. Back to what we were doing, cleaning up stray lines. Do. See, I left that line there and accidentally shaded it. And it should never have been shaded. Okay, and again, the whole thing is not white, so we have to lift it off the paper. If we do that, then we have to make sure the shadow matches. Oh, you know what I left out? This very important feature right here. this important feature right there. Yeah, I got so excited about shading that in, I forgot to leave the nostril hole. Alright. We do have some reflected light in the shadow back here. And right here. My mom says today is my last Uber Granny day until August. She refers to herself as Uber Granny because she likes to take the kids back and forth to school. And today, I think today is essentially my son's last day as a freshman. They still have to go back to school next week, but I guess he's going to ride his bicycle all next week. Alright, I'm calling it. I have to call it because I have to go to work. Like I said, I could do this all day. This is, especially with this particular dinosaur, this is one of my favorites. So I have to call it though. What is today? The 22nd. Oh yeah, because it's my bride's birthday. My beautiful young bride. So 22. So let's see here. Stop the camera switching. Overhead. Stop the recording. Eject the camera. This is what we ended up with. About dropped everything. This is what we ended up with. If I can figure out how to get it lit without reflecting. So, like I said, this is one of those things I could spend all day drawing, but I just don't have that kind of time. There's a lot of detail, especially in the safari. Figurines, there is a lot of detail. So that's what we have for today. So guys, thank you so much for joining me. I do enjoy this. You know, I look forward to it every morning. I do this at 5:30 every morning. Be sure and tune in tomorrow, same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance. See, my camera is jumpy. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, and then when they see me dancing, I will stop, because that means that